It should be on.
Famous last word.
I really hope so. We're live here. And we are live.
Hey, good evening.
Mute the YouTube. Mute your YouTube. Yeah. Don't forget that.
Oh, playback, I got an error.
Yeah, YouTube has been...
it's just being cranky, but I'm muted, that's me.
Yeah, we are live.
Hey.
Okay. Right, so... We're live. Are you ready? I think I'm ready. We have all the notes.
I'm ready.
Yeah? Is anyone here? Let's see if they're ready.
Hey. I guess I forgot to post on Facebook. Oops. So
okay, there's 4 of us here. I think we're ready.
Hey, I can talk for Britain anytime you like. So
I'll show your face then. Hey everyone.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, welcome back to Queer Creators.
Hey.
And today we are doing Let's Get You Writing. So we're pretty much going to be giving a lot of tips and tricks about how to start writing. And oh yeah, I forgot to say, I did forget to say that every time. So your hosts today is Lola Keeley, who is, am I saying it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, so you have, stay with me, you have Lola Keeley, who is a lesbic author. You write books, lesbian books, and you're published. Exactly. And how many of them do you have?
There are 3 out in the world, and in about a week there will be 4.
There you have it, people. And I am... Right, so Lola, we never said that. Where are you? Where do you live?
I live in Edinburgh, in Scotland, which is not quite where I'm originally from, but only about 40 miles out, so...
All right. Wonderful. And you are married to the lovely Kay.
Yes, Kate Welsh, author of Victorian medical detective fiction, which sounds like a lot of genres all in one, but it's very cool. And she's also a total expert in all things queer and literary and historical.
And she writes articles all the time.
Yeah,
like in serious places. So... she's really good, isn't she?
She's everywhere. She infiltrated the Telegraph, which is the big sort of right-wing paper here. And she's been sort of teaching them what LGBT stuff is.
Oh, that sounds
why
really
women have rights and stuff. So
wow.
Yeah, behind enemy lines. But she's very good at what she does.
Awesome. That's really awesome, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, she's also quarantined with me. So like, thoughts and prayers for Kate right now.
Well, I mean, that's all right. You guys love each other, right?
Yeah.
Do you like each other? I think that's the actual question.
Yeah. I think you see so many people who don't, but we genuinely just have like a lot of stupid fun. So
right.
It's handy that we're also married and we're also doing grown-up stuff, but you know, we also just talk to each other in silly voices via the cats all the time. So
yes. How many cats do you have?
It's pretty chill. We have 4, which is too many. But I love them all, so I can't give them that.
You're a cat lady.
Oh, for sure. Right, and I come by it honestly. My mum has 7, so she had 8, but she has 7 now, sadly. But yeah, we've always had cats.
Right. Up. So I have 1.
That's a normal amount.
I suppose, and it's not even mine. But I just want to say, cat attacks. We're gonna have many of them. Don't be offended.
They do like to wander in, and if you see them on camera, it is actually the law that you have to come.
Right, or if you see just their butts, it's normal.
Yeah, that's how they communicate. They're just letting you catch up on.
Exactly, they're being social.
Strange, but we won't do that. That'll just be the cats. So just to reassure you.
All right then.
Okay.
So myself, my name is C.S. Conrad. As a writer, but you know, just call me C. And I'm a writer, I'm an editor, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I'm a project director for a community that's called Queer Your Game, which is an international multi-platform, multi-games, LGBTQIA plus only community. On Discord, we have a Twitch channel, we have a YouTube channel. I mean, all of that is in the making. And right here on this channel, I do pretty much, I talk about queer content. I talk about creating all sorts of content. I vlog, which I'm in the making of vlogging. And you'll find also, gear reviews and content that can be useful if you want to make things and you're not sure how or where to start. So yeah, that's me. I'm also trying to get published eventually. I have a few stories in the making. I have too many plot bunnies. I have a lot of stories in the making, but I think we all have those. But yeah, they're coming, and I live in France on a tiny, tiny little island off of the coast of Brittany. And what else can I say? There's one cat in the house.
A good start.
I drive a Smart.
Hey.
Because it's cute and tiny. Her name is Carrie, because I'm a big Carrie Fisher fan.
Awesome.
And how's your car named?
I drive a Peugeot, which is very French of me.
I love Peugeots. They're very good cars.
And her name, well, she's actually the second of her name, because my best friend had a Peugeot originally, and we called her that, but I just borrowed the name because I came up with it. So she's Patti LaPuge, which is my
that is so nice.
My Patti LuPone tribute, and she drives like Patti LuPone, or maybe I drive like I imagine Patti LuPone goes through life. So
that's good. That's a good way to go through life. That woman has energy. Yeah. And so, are you now committed to Peugeots?
I think so. I was a Volvo girl.
The name says it.
But... Yeah, I had Virginia the Volvo before this. She was an inherited car, a soft top. But nice. she had done too many years on the road and she was slowly breaking down. So Patti LaPuge came in to save the day. I love her. Right. She's just been in the garage for like 3 weeks, so I've been bereft and driving a horrible courtesy car. So
all right, mine is in the garage too. I have gearing issues.
I got smacked into by an idiot. So
that's horrible.
Yeah,
so mine has a gear shifting thing issue, and well, she's being looked at, and it's gonna be painful. I think.
I managed to avoid that by driving an automatic.
Well, it's a semi.
I know she's changing gears, but
it's a semi-automatic. But they all have a gear, an actual gear, like a disc gear, and I think that is dead in my car. I have the part. I just need to find a mechanic that can fix it, which is not going to be the smart garage, because the smart garage is going to kill me for an arm and a leg.
Oh yeah.
so we'll see about that.
Yeah. There's an unofficial life tip.
So Lola, today we're going to talk to people a little bit about our process, how we write, and we're definitely here to help other creators get started with writing.
Yeah, and get past blocks as well.
Okay, hopefully. Then. And what they like to do, and, what you like to do, what I like to do, and how we start. Because, I mean, how some people are like, how do you get the idea? Or how do you actually write it? Or how do you get into, what do you use to write? All of those things. We're going to talk about a lot of things today. And hopefully they'll be helpful. If you have any questions, or if you want, you're a little precision on things. If you want to participate, tell us how you do it. And you want to know more, you're in chat. Just ask your question and say hello. We'll say hello back. And we'll try to answer your questions regularly as we go on. Okay, so the first thing I think I'm gonna do is cut the music.
Okay.
I think, because I forgot the music, but we're gonna cut the music for now. It's just gonna be you and me. Right. So how do you get into it? Like when you started started writing the first time, like your first story, what happened?
I'm very much a back of a napkin, any piece of paper I can find, germ of an idea kind of person. I find if I don't get that down when I first think of it, it's gone. And I have lost so many ideas to, I'll definitely remember later. I'll definitely remember in the morning. No, you won't. And
You
if you do,
won't.
it won't be quite the same. Just don't do it to yourself. It doesn't matter. I have literally written story ideas on my wife's arm so that I don't lose them.
Oh wow.
Like,
Okay.
and just, you know, I always ask first. I'm not an asshole.
So I will concur with Lola. This is important. That's my notebook, and that's my Moleskine journalist soft notebook. I think that's €10.
Even better.
Right. There's a lot of stuff in it. With the pen. If I don't have that, I use the Notes app on my iPhone. Do you use the Notes app
full
too?
Of stuff. It's full of stuff. I mean, it also has like all my like boring life details in it too. So
right. Oh, you'll find my bills in this. I mean, yeah. I have
like, pay gas bill and then write an epic romance about whatever. But they're all together.
You have my bills for March, my to-do list. I mean, all the stuff. I have reminders for pretty much everything, but in my Notes app, there's a lot of stuff. Also, there's a fake notes as if I'm taking the train station and how much is the ticket cost and what time it's at for my credit card's codes. So I don't forget them. Yeah. I mean, you have to be now. Right. So you take notes. So whenever you have IDs, so what happens if you're like watching a TV show and suddenly something just like you have to like, you know, like it's just bursting in your head and you're like, oh, I gotta write this. So what do you do?
That's mostly these days, I'd say, especially from watching with other people, I try not to be a huge disruption because like no one wants to be the wanky writer who's like, oh, my process, I must stop for my art. And like my family would not entertain that for like 5 seconds. They would just be like, shut up, you get a post-it. Okay. So I'm mostly, that's where my phone comes in as a godsend, or my laptop. I'm sitting with it. I just sit and quietly tap out whatever. Sometimes if it's like a fic thing, you know, oh my god, this scene totally needs another scene where this happens, and this could totally be gay if only we changed it to this. So that's where it first goes down. And if I'm really sure, if I can like picture what the story is going to be right off, then it goes straight into a Google document. It's just docs.new.
Okay.
Boom. Open. Commit to it. Get it down.
Okay. So
that's also why I have 1,000 drafts in my Google Docs that have never seen the light of day, but I haven't lost any of them.
I'm pretty much the same. I mean, I think I am worse a little bit. Like I do have a lot of but I have very strong world building skills. So for me, very often plot IDs or story IDs or chapter IDs, whatever IDs, come to me into visual scenes, like in the movie. Okay. So it's kind of nice because it helps me remember them easily. I just revisit them in my mind's eye, pretty much. Okay. So yeah, so I have an archive in my head. If I'm sufficiently motivated or spurred or spontaneously, spurred is a good word, or jolted by something, that it'll create a scene in my mind, I can save it forever and I see it and I have it stored.
Nice.
But you know, we don't all have the same way to visualize stories. Some people don't visualize stories. I visualize stories very much, actually. So yeah, I have, but if that doesn't happen, meaning if it gives me an idea but it doesn't like spur a scene, an actual scene, visual scene in my head, then I'll write it down for sure. I'll put it in notes, I'll put it on paper, on a napkin, on my hand. I'll put it somewhere in my notebook. Yeah,
I swear,
I'll tell it.
If you go enough layers down,
I'm famously famous for asking my friend to remind me if we're in a conversation on the phone or whatever. I'll say, "Oh my God, I need to make a note about that." And if I can't or something, I'll say, "Just like, please hold on to this for me." That happens a lot too.
I've got a bad habit of saying, "Can you remind me that I said?" And most of the time it pays off. Kate's normally quite good because she's used to it. And my best friend is Landy is very much like, why? But she remember, she'll retain it. But
eventually
like,
she
knows. Not use me as a human USB drive. And I'm like, sorry.
Right. Sometimes I have friends like a couple days later come back to me and say, "Oh, you asked me to remember that for you," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" and then I'll be like, "Oh, it was a writing thing." So usually I tell them it's a writing thing. You have to remember, and it helps.
They're normally quite.
I have allergies, people, so don't feel offended if I'm
Corona.
No, I don't have it at all. I just have seasonal allergies.
I
didn't before. Like, so it's recent. Like, I didn't have that before.
Good timing. What a great year to develop them.
I'm old now. That's it.
Oh, yeah, the system is slowly breaking down, but
it is.
Could be a grown up. But yeah, and I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people. I've spoken to a bunch of people both within fandom and within who want to get into various types of publishing. And they're like, yeah, I have the idea, but then I get to the piece of paper or the blank screen and like nothing comes out. And I'm like,
that's another step we'll tell you about.
Yeah, definitely. So like, what's your go-to? What is your like, the Pulitzer Committee have asked to see this piece of writing tomorrow morning. I have to write it or my life depends upon it. I will be shot at dawn if I don't write this piece of paper. What gets you past your block at that point?
I mean, the deadline itself is really efficient, usually.
That does help, yeah.
Music.
Really?
Music saves my life, right? So if I'm here and I am music and research, and sometimes if it's a theme or something I've already written, music research and looking at something else that I've written. So I always put myself in a bubble. Some people are not like that, but I am. I will pull up the page. If it's something I've started writing before, I will reread at least, 200 to 500 words before where I'm at right now. If I'm starting a new chapter, I'll read the previous chapter just to get back. If I'm writing a paper, it's different. But let's talk stories, because writing a paper, I never struggle. Because usually when I write a paper, I'm in essay mode. And when I'm in essay mode, I'm really good with the... I did philosophy in high school. I'm really good with the structure. Like, I know the structure, and I know what I'm looking for, the points, the discussion and how you argument and your introduction, all of that. So usually I have a structure in mind. If I'm writing a paper, I already know. But so I'm very disciplined, which you're more bursting, and I'm more in the very structured part. So it's, for me, when I'm writing a story, I choose music, and sometimes I'll choose one song and I'll put it on repeat for 6 hours. That's...
Oh, really? Oh God, no.
Yeah. I have like a few playlists, But sometimes I choose like an album and I play the album on repeat. But sometimes it's one song, and very often the song is linked to the emotion that I'm trying to emulate, like where I want it to come from and how I want it to make me feel, so that I know how to make you feel. That's very often for me. That's music. The confidence, which is for me is what I like the most. The confidence comes from knowing that I've done it before. So that's why I reread, right? Because it helps me. I know I've done this. And very often, so I have my first anxiety. No, Siri, I'm not. No, I'm not talking to you. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, very often I'll. First, I need to know that I can write. So that's my first anxiety. Can I actually write? So I'll look
words together, yeah.
Yes, so I'll look at something that I've done before because it's absolute proof that I can write. And then I'll read something else again. And sometimes I go back to something very, very early in my published works. Not because they're old, but because my second anxiety is, am I good at this? I need to know that I can do it because I'm good at it. And that if I do it, then it needs to be good. Because I would hate if it
pass it. Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes I go back to stuff that I haven't read in a while, and I realize that even back then, it was good. So that means I can do it, right? So I need to psych myself. Very often, I need to psych myself. So it takes me a while. That's why if I just have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to write, it's not enough. It takes me sometimes 10 to 30 minutes. It can take me up to 30 minutes to get into the groove. And then it flows. Like then it's open.
That's interesting.
Then it's open dam. There's writing everywhere. And I can do it I can do it for 12 hours and not look at the time once.
Oh no!
Yeah, but I need to psych myself and put myself into the mindset. It's very important because I have an anxiety disorder, and for me,
you don't stress yourself in the process.
Yeah, everything about writing needs to be good, feel good inside. It needs to be it makes me happy, so it needs to feel good.
That is like an optimum way to do something that
I know, right? I mean, I know it's a little weird. I mean, I understand that. It's a little weird.
We all have to find I think that's the thing as well. A lot of times people are looking for like one fail-safe way that works for everyone, and that just doesn't exist. Like, it is a personal thing. And even just in contrast to you there, like, if I'm having a really bad writing day, if it's, like pulling teeth, the last thing I can do is look at something I've already written, because I'm just like, it totally undermines me. I'm like, I'm never going to get it to do that again. That was a one-off. That was a fluke. That's
because you have a lot of confidence. I always start at zero. But you have a capital of confidence. I've known you for years. You have so much more confidence than me. Like, I know that we've been friends for, I don't know.
God, decades plus?
Years. Easily? Yeah, almost 10 years. And I think so. And I've always known you have a capital of confidence that's in like, I've always envied you that, because you have so much confidence. And I start at zero. So if anybody always think, oh, I don't have confidence, I've never done this before. For me, life is like that for everything. I am at zero confidence always. Even if I build it up for one day or 1 week, it'll go away. I'll wake up the next day and I have to restart everything. So I have my little feel-good process to psych myself up and get myself ready. But it takes a little while.
Because I was thinking about that as well, just as you were talking about it. I would probably, for most of the time I've written, that probably would have been true for me. But the last 2 years, I think it's partly because...
You do it all the time?
Yeah, partly because I have to separate like work writing from just like fun writing, although a lot of the time the work writing is really fun.
That when that happens, it's nice. I like that too.
it is supposed to be about doing what you love, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I can get kind of. I've now got a sort of mode that I think I can access, which I didn't have
Yeah,
before, where it's just kind of, and I think it's partly to do with the planning and the outlining that comes first.
it's the
But if,
discipline. Personally, it saves me.
yeah, if I can sit, like, if say I'm sitting there having my lunch or whatever, and I
Hmm.
decide, oh, right, okay, so hold on, like when these two characters first meet, what if instead of what I had planned out, this
Mm.
other thing happens instead? Maybe there's a physical confrontation and they run into each other, like literally, and I'm like, oh, I like that idea better because, like, if you've done some of the groundwork to have
Yeah.
that already lined out, I don't have to go and say, ah, right, where does this fit now?
It's
Where
not
do
like
I fit
starting
this?
from the start all the time.
Yeah,
It's
so
you're
I can
able
now kind of
to,
hold the whole story in my
yeah.
head where I couldn't do that before, and
Plus
I'm like,
with
you go,
experience, I mean, writing is a
yeah,
craft. It's a skill, it's a craft, it's a thing that you can learn to do, but the more
mm,
you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. Oh, here's the cat. The more you do it, the more you're going to be comfortable with it, and you're going to develop a little bit of a toolbox
yeah,
that of things that you're going to be able to use to get you there, to get you started, to get you finished, to transition things, to do
mm,
introduction, conclusion, to find a title, to never forget your IDs. You're going to have your little toolbox, and
yeah,
um, that's something you need to start doing from the start. And if it's even better if you're aware that you're creating tools by making choices in the beginning, you're creating tools. So, for
yeah.
example, um, what you used to write. So, Lola, you like Google Docs.
Oh yeah. Um, I pretty much every fic I've ever written has been done in Google Docs. Sometimes each chapter has its own document. Sometimes I just write over it once I've posted. It depends kind of what kind of story it is. And only really since I switched over to books have I started looking at things like Scrivener, and I still edit in Word, which just because that's what the manuscripts come back and forth in.
Right.
And if there was like one part of the publishing process I could banish forever,
It's
it would be
words
doing track changes in Word. It
in
absolutely
Microsoft
puts me
Word.
over
I
the
know.
edge.
It
But
drives me insane.
the good
I
thing is
do it for
Pages
every
normally
book I
lets you.
edit. I
So
do it for
yeah,
every book I edit, but it's I hate
yeah.
it.
I've
Okay,
been switching to
so
Pages because at least it doesn't crash.
I love
But
Pages, and I do
yeah, it's
Pages
a bit
editing
something.
with my editor, and
Mm,
I use Pages mostly. Google Docs for me is only a place where, I mean, you couldn't before, but now you can pretty much share as long as you're in every software, as long as your editor or your beta
as
reader are
long as they have
in
the same one.
the
Yeah.
same software. But I use Google Docs. So what I do is that I'll archive everything in Google Docs. So even if I use Pages to write, I will
Mm.
copy and paste to Google Docs every time. Um,
Oh,
Always. Also, it's a great place for you to share, and you're gonna want to share. So
yeah.
my advice would be
It's
use
where I get
Google
like my base
Docs.
everything done. Yeah.
Yes. If you're using Google Docs from an iPad or an iPhone, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, a little bit.
The apps are not very good. I use the
No,
desktop version in my iPad now because I write with my iPad. You write with your MacBook, right?
yeah. When I was on residency last year, I went to Sweden for a month, and basically got paid to write, which was like awesome.
I want to do
um,
that. I really want to do
and
that one day.
because I didn't want to be tied to my desk while I was there, I wanted to be outdoors and I wanted
Right.
to go to the library or go and find new places, basically. So the most portable option. Now I've got a slightly lighter Mac, but then I had my iPad and a Bluetooth keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also great for like when I was away with my in-laws at Easter. If
Yeah.
you've got your laptop out, you're rude, you're working. If you've
Yeah.
got your iPad out, maybe you're just getting like
Yeah.
Peppa Pig up to show your nieces. Like they
Well, I
can't
mean,
prove that you're writing a book. So
I have an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, so it's like it looks like a laptop. But I do a lot of video editing and all my Lightroom work is done on my iPad. So for me,
you get the most out of it.
I really seriously, they say it's for creators. I totally like, my friends are like, why the fuck would you want an iPad? Everybody's like, you have a laptop, you build computers, because I do that. You have an, like, why the fuck would you have an iPad? And I mean, I just love it. I think if you took my computer, I would you know, I would survive. If you took my iPad, I would fight you.
I'm definitely the other way around.
I just love it.
Partly because of how I organize as well. Like all my files are
everything is in there.
Laptopy kind of way.
Well, I mean,
no, that makes sense.
For me, everything is on hard drives, external hard drives. so yeah, my laptop itself doesn't have anything compromising in it. The only thing that's from all my life is on the hard drives, and they have mirror. so really, like, you can take the tool, but the data is not on the computer.
Yeah.
But my iPad, I really like it. I like the touch. I like everything. Anyway, for writing, it's pretty good. And also definitely like the portability, because I love to go write in cafes as long as I have my headset or my AirPods. But, you know, I love to work outside.
We're both really struggling with in this household at the moment. We didn't realize until sort of last week, this week, that although we both work from home, I've been in class 2 days a week for this past academic year, but we didn't realize how often we go and say, I'm going to the library, or I'm going to Starbucks, or I'm going to wherever. And a lot of the time I'll drive somewhere to get out of the city and go somewhere totally quiet. But
I definitely miss Starbucks for sure. But I'll go.
The lack of public space is like, there's nowhere to write apart from in the house.
I mean, I'm on the mainland. I have to take the ferry on the mainland at least a day a week. So this is weird. And I work out. I go to the gym every morning. I do
that.
I like to go, but I'm a little bit intense. I'm a little intense. And I like to go to cafes to write. It's just that on the island, they don't always have internet, and that's not always cool. And also it's seasonal. In the winter, nothing's open.
Oh, it must be quiet.
Yeah. But from April to October. Yes. From April to October, we're okay. And so now I'm gonna. Now I'm stuck here, but it's not easy. It's been hard for everybody. So Google Docs would be my recommendation. It's free. You can share it. And their editing suggestion mode is actually amazing.
It has stopped me.
And they have a chat option as well, right? Which is very good. Much better than anything else I've seen, especially words. Ugh.
Yeah, God.
Right? Their Skype integration is just anyway.
It's so bad.
Yeah, very meh. So I think Google Docs is a good place to go. You don't have to make it public. You make it private, but they'll save everything. And and I think it's a good place to start. And like I said, you can write comments for yourself. They have a good amount of layout and editing that you can do. And it's very nice if you want to have sessions. And I've done that before. If you want to write with someone else, that's amazing. If you want to collab, Google Docs is the place. So you might as well get used to it.
Cool, right, that way. Yeah.
I think it's great for that. So because it's like instantaneous, right?
There's an unfinished, I think I just marked it as complete actually, so it's because we're not going to finish it. But I wrote a fic with Tiff a few years ago, which was a Swan Queen Rizzoli and Isles crossover. And we literally, we didn't want to overthink it. We just wanted to get the story out between us.
Right.
So we literally just sat in the same document, and it was like, every time you feel inspired, you start typing. And when you stop, the other person can take over, and it really worked. Really, we got
it works really seamlessly. And right now, Lola and I, we have a Google Doc document open that we've called the YouTube plan, and pretty much we have decided to use a few bullet points to guide ourselves during the conversation here. And she's live in it, I'm live in it, and we are both following. We can type anything. It's pretty great, isn't it?
It really does the job in most parts. Very occasionally, like you say, the app is a bit of a pain, but for the most part, if you're sitting down to write seriously, you're going to be sitting at some kind of device that can handle it. So and there's a few people I can't get to use Google Docs, so I kind of need to use Google Docs, and I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's frustrating. If you want any kind of sharing, any kind of you know, comment for yourself, any time of comparing docs to put notes and stuff, and like this is the way. So once you're sitting down and you have a Google Doc page open and you've set yourself up with a little music, you have your notebook next to you, where do you get your ideas? So, because we talked to you a lot about how we save our IDs, but you need an ID to start writing.
Yeah.
So, what do you start
from the oddest places normally. If it's fic, it's pretty much always something in canon that either pissed me off or made me want more of it. So that's always quite simple. But there are times, there's genuinely quite a lot of times where I've been like, I need to write. I need to get back into this habit. Like maybe I've been away on holiday, or maybe I've had a really busy work spell where I haven't done any creative writing. Right. And I'm like, how do I get like just back in at the deep end? And the best thing I found for that is like prompt memes and challenges and stuff, where it's like you either get a list of prompts and people suggest numbers from that list, and you have to write. You're pretty good
at. Also, you're pretty famous on whether it's Twitter or Instagram, Tumblr. So when you ask people for prompt, they will respond.
Yeah, if you have people that you talk to regularly, then they tend to show up.
Right, but if you're new on Twitter, they'll ask. If you're on Twitter or Tumblr and you don't have a big following because you've never published anything for anyone, and there are tags that you can use. If you write on Twitter, tag your fandom, tag your pairing, right?
And then people will start to notice it and respond. Yeah,
and tag like the I'm writing tag.
Yes.
And on Twitter, for example, and people will give you prompts for sure. I mean,
and the prompts don't always have to be interactive. Like there's a lot of
gifs,
particularly for quite established fandoms.
Yes,
there'll be like prompt lists. There'll be like a prompt, like Kink Bingo used to be the big thing on LiveJournal. You would get a card with like 9 or 16 squares on it, and you would have to write like to make a line through your bingo card, like playing bingo. So you'd have to write 4 prompts. And there would be 4 different kinks, for example. So that's quite a good way to do it.
Tropes, right? So you might have an idea in mind. Like you say, you like a fandom, you like a pairing in that fandom. So let's take an example. We're going to take an example for Supergirl, and you like Alex and Kelly, her girlfriend Kelly, say, right?
Yeah.
And you want to write that story. You want to write a story for them, but you don't know what. But you kind of like the idea of I don't know, taking them out of the context of Supergirl. So you could write a story where Alex is a doctor because she's a doctor, right? And Kelly's also a doctor, so they could work in a hospital and have an adventure that way. So just establish a scene. Personally, that's what I kind of try to do when I don't already have one. I establish a scene. So I go for the pairing that I like in the fandom that I like. And then I decide, do I want to fix something from the show that really made me uncomfortable? Or do I want, or that could have gone any other way, but I didn't like the way they did? Or do I want to take them outside of the show and start from a point and completely ignore everything else and then just go wherever I want? Or I try to build a scene, little piece by little piece, until I have like,
and that's
okay,
people think that sometimes you have to have a whole book in your head before you can even start it.
no, you
And
just need to start the puzzle.
not true. Yeah, I mean, like my second book, Major Surgery, because my first book had kind of come from an existing fanfic, although we made a lot of changes.
Right.
It had a structure. It was basically, start to finish, it was the same overall arc.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of the detail changed, but Major Surgery was the first one I had to come up with completely off,
Brand new.
on its own, and I had like 6 months to do
Right.
that.
So
I was
that's
like,
less fic. That's not less fic fanfic. That's actual pure
it was
fiction.
like a purely original story with my own characters, and they had nods to like characters I have loved over the years and stuff, but
yeah,
it was its own world, and
it's
didn't
like
take the dynamics from anywhere else.
characterization archetype. You're gonna
Same
like
idea.
someone. Like I really like Regina, so I usually have a penchant for temperamental, sophisticated women, for example.
Exactly.
Might be the kind of girls or guys or anything in between that you like. So might be
it's finding something that makes you interested is the first thing.
Makes you interested first. Yes, I think
I want to write about like that entire book, which is what 80,000 words, 85,000 words, something like that. It all came out of the first scene, which is actually like a chunk of the first chapter, and it's basically our poised together, completely in control doctor character who is our main protagonist. She walks into her work as normal on a Monday morning and sees something completely bizarre happening, and she's like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, she's like, this is not how this goes. This is not how my world operates. This is not within the the rules of my
right.
Yeah, and all that it took to do that was the other co-protagonist who would become her love interest. Is basically breaking most of the rules of being a doctor, because nobody A knows that she's a doctor at this point, and B, she's sitting on top of a patient with a knife in her hand. And it's like,
okay, that's an opening. Okay. That's a serious opening.
I had that picture of like what would it take, and I'm lucky that I have friends who are doctors and they've told me some great stories over the years. But I was like, what would it take to take one of these like completely unflappable, a little bit jaded maybe kind of people who they have seen it all.
Yeah, if you've watched ER, if you watched ER or Grey's Anatomy and you've seen Grey's Anatomy is not medically correct, and I know all my medical friends just go nuts about it. But you watch it for the drama. Come on,
it's the story. But yeah, ultimately,
exactly. But if you sometime told yourself, "Oh, I wish I could write something like that," bam. You have a start.
The thing, you just have to find the moment, and then that moment brought two characters, because you had to have two characters that would clash, and then all of a sudden they needed someone to witness what was happening between them, so that brought in a third character, and then
there you go.
When they sorted themselves out, the hospital had to then return to some kind of normal. So then you've got other departments, and you've got other staff, and
you get secondary characters, and you have a whole world to build. And world building, don't get me wrong, it's the most amazing fun thing to do. Like, it's my favorite thing in writing.
That's my least favorite thing. It takes me forever. It's not
really
my strong suit. No,
it excites me. Like I come to life.
I love to see it done well.
Making builds.
I love other people's worlds, but it's probably one of my weak points as a writer.
Well, I'm gonna give you one piece of pro tip. One pro tip. Let's stop. One pro tip. Write your world building separately. Because if you put all of the world building that you have in your mind on paper, you're going to flood your reader. Flood your reader with a lot of the world building that you don't want to share. So be sparse and be clever with your world building. Go nuts for yourself. If you enjoy it, if you're having fun, if you want to take notes of all the things that you need to research, do that. But in your actual story, don't give too much. you'll
just the
learn
bits
to
you
know.
need.
Yeah, you'll learn with time and doing it what's enough, and with editing, to be honest, you
Yeah.
learn what's enough and what's too much. But in the beginning, if you see yourself starting going nuts and with secondary stories and genealogy and history and countries and names for cities and animals and new
apart from
planets,
anything else,
write
your
that
editor's just
somewhere
going to come
else.
in and go, nope.
Nope. Nope.
Your editor is just going to go,
that's not for now. Nope, that's not that's too much. Okay, not enough. Yes, no, no, no. So
I can
just
actually
write
picture
it somewhere else.
the red angry lines in my track changes going.
Yeah, that's too
So
much.
you need to know it, but you can put it in there without spelling it all
Exactly.
out. Yeah.
Exactly. If you feel like you're spilling, you're probably spilling. So spill somewhere else. If you feel like what you need to share when you're starting your chapter 1 opening scene. So like for Lola's book, you have that moment where something crazy happens on the opening. You have the main character and she's going to work and it's suddenly something
Normal,
completely crazy happens, right? That's your opening. But I'm pretty sure in that opening you don't even know her name yet. You probably don't know what's the name of the hospital, what city she's in. You know it's Monday, possibly because it's a Monday morning, right? And you don't know who's the person doing the crazy thing, right? Because that's someone else.
Exactly.
You don't know the victim. You don't even know what accident they had, or the writer, but the reader.
So you then have to take all those details and eke them out. Like some of those questions you just posed there. Although some of them
you need to know those things.
Yeah,
you need to know those things, but your reader doesn't.
Out their name afterwards because someone comes up and says, "Dr. Malik, how did you handle this situation?" So that's great.
That's how you opened it. Yes.
Yeah.
You got to be clever.
That's the aftermath of it.
You always have to be clever about the information you give.
Exactly. You've got to remember that if you're watching a 10-episode show, right?
Yes.
Or reading a book that has 3 volumes in its series,
they don't give you the backstory of your They don't give you the backstory of your and all the comics information from that show on episode 1.
Like, look at the Hunger Games. You don't find out about District 13 until like book 2 or 3, right? So you go through the entire first book thinking it's just the first 12 districts. And it's only later, and that's a game changer. That shakes up everything for everyone. Because
that's how you expose your conflict and you create the plot twist. Yeah. But we're not at the plot twist yet. We're at chapter 1.
Just remember,
all in good
you don't
time.
have to dump it all.
Right. Yeah. So you might know all those things ahead of time, and it's okay if you don't, because sometimes those things come to you as you're writing, which is fine.
Yeah, and never be afraid. One thing I've helped a few people get past blocks with, or they keep getting stuck at the same points, is there is absolutely no authority in this world that can prevent you from writing in the middle of like a chapter or a volume or whatever you're writing. Just put in brackets, something happens here.
Yes.
Or something bad happens to Bob. And like, you don't need the details at that point. If you are in a role and you know that what happens next is,
and you're like,
that
her name is
Jane,
but it's not going to be Jane because I just haven't figured out how to call her. That's okay.
That's what find and replace is for. My characters' names change all the time. So
exactly.
Like I'm writing a script this week, for example, for my course, and the whole way through it, for some reason, I have decided that my guest star character is called Laurel. I don't know why. It struck me as funny at the time, and her name is Laurel. So I've written I'm on the second draft of the script, Laurel, and then I was like, I need to name her restaurant something. Her restaurant needs a funny name. Not funny, but like quirky. And it's like, it's a vegan restaurant, so what if I change her name to Anne, and then the restaurant is called Vegan? Right, done, sorted.
Sorted, yeah. Don't be afraid.
Has been called that for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden she has a new name because it fits my purposes better to call her something else. So
writing 101. Don't let anything stop you. You can always fix it later.
momentum is your friend. Do not let it go when you have it.
Don't lose your flow just because you're like, oh shit, how old is she? It's okay. You can figure it out later.
It's always the silliest detail as well, or it'll be like,
yes,
oh crap, is that in
I wonder
Paris?
if she has food allergies.
Let's just say Paris for now.
Yeah, you know, like, oh, I wonder if what if she's allergic to, and then you get distracted and everything's fucked up. So no, keep your momentum safe. Don't let anything stop you. If it's a name, it's all right. If it's the city, it's all right. If it's a grammar mistake, it's all right. You can fix it later. It's a draft. So
exactly, and
never sacrifice your ID for a detail.
Yeah, I sometimes write the wrong word because I'm going too fast. So I'll try to write, you know, he, you know, was doing whatever. You know, I don't know what word I was necessarily trying for, and instead I'll write table, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But it's just because I've been looking at a table while I've been doing it, and I've been going too fast.
Yeah.
Like,
just put brackets. Just put brackets so that you can search for the brackets and you can come back and fix it. That's all you need to know. A
couple of asterisks is always my good one for what.
Right.
What's the frickin' word for this? 2 asterisks. So I'm coming back and looking it up later.
Exactly. So that takes me to another very important thing that a lot of people have a hard time deciding on or overcoming. Do you write chronologically, or do you write beats and pieces and then you put them together? Or, you know, like, how do you do it? Because I know a lot of people just picture in their head, like, okay, the screen, the keyboard, and somebody's furiously, continuously writing, never stopping, never looking up, drinking tea. You know what I mean? And they look so studious and so, you know, productive and all of that. First of all, it's a lie. It's rare.
All, they're not doing what they should be doing. But.
Yeah, that looks good on you know, in an advert. That's it. but yeah, so it's important to talk about. I think we're going to talk about that in a few tools, right? So Lola, do you write continuously? Do you write chronologically? Do you write in morsels that you like to piece together after? Do you write the parts that you're excited about writing and then just leave the other parts that you're annoyed with, or that you never like to do for later? How do you process that? I can tell.
On my first attempt at the first draft,
yes,
I tried to write chronologically. I try.
Okay.
I definitely, anything longer than like 15,000 words, I would definitely outline anyway. So that's always kind of there to hang on. But
is 15,000 a lot?
Not really. I could knock out 15,000 like fic-wise in like a weekend. So it's not a tremendous amount.
For me, 15,000 is like a one shot or a 3-shot, like a 3-chapter.
Probably about a 3-shot. Yeah, probably 3-shot. For me,
it's like what do you like to put in a chapter? We're talking fan fiction here, because for fiction it might be a little different, but
fanfic, I tend to, my long fics have always averaged out about 3,000 words a chapter.
Yeah, but I like that too.
For ones
I can do 5.
For ones that I want to update quickly, or that I don't necessarily know where the story's going just yet, it can be as little as like
2.5 thousand.
No, I can go down to 1,000. Yeah, I'm doing a coffee shop AU for Super Cat, which has been going on for like a year and 2 years now.
Oh, I like that.
And it's that's only about 1,200 words a chapter, because I wanted to throw them up as soon as they were ready. I know it was the kind of story I wanted to do, like short. I wanted to reveal something in every chapter.
Right.
So sometimes there would be 2 reveals close together, and I didn't want to have them both in the same chapter. So that's kind of what made them shorter to begin with. But
I feel you.
There's no real.
So do you write usually one chapter? Like, you work on one chapter at a time, or do you work in several chapters?
Not so much now. That's something
at a time.
With fic, I tend to write chronologically.
Okay, yeah, because you write one, you publish one.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
don't write in advance and then publish it gradually. I don't have the patience for that. With books, the first attempt will be like, how far can I go in one go chronologically? Like,
Yeah.
how far can I
Yeah.
get?
Yeah.
Inevitably, I hit a sticking point. It always happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I used to do was stay stuck on that sticking point for like a month or 2 months until the
Okay.
deadline's getting too close and I start to panic.
Right.
So what I do now is my little brackets trick of, this is where someone gets killed, or this is where, so and so first meets her father-in-law, or whatever the thing is that I
Yeah.
don't want to write. It just stays there in brackets. And then I go to the next chapter and it's like, oh, this is a fun thing. This is like where they go to a gay bar and they start dancing on the
Okay.
tables. Great, I can write that. And then the
Okay.
momentum starts up again. So, but yeah, as it gets closer to the end of the book, then I have to go back and do all those gaps, and they will be done in any order whatsoever. They will not be done in any kind of sensible order, because some of the changes you make here will make another change there. And yeah, so I've learned to be flexible because time really kind of needs me to be. And also, I think it makes it less stressful for me to do. I hate being stuck. I hate feeling like I'm failing at a book. It really upsets me. I hate feeling that a story has just died and I can't get it back.
Do
It's really
you,
frustrating.
does K
Um,
help?
uh,
I
I
call her
tried
K,
not
but
to.
because you always tell
No,
K
it's
to me. It's okay, right? Then I
um,
call her K.
oh no, that's fine. She
Okay.
goes by both. I call her Special K when I'm being annoying, but
Oh, that's nice. I
yeah,
like that.
I'm
Special
very
K.
rarely saying it
Oh, that's
sincerely, so don't worry.
mean, is what it is.
Yeah, I'm normally being a dick when I say it. So,
Yes, and I can so picture you do it too.
the best
I hope she
thing,
gets you
Kate,
back.
God love her, Kate is very patient, which helps. She
Mm,
listens to a lot of me thinking out loud. So when I get
that's
stuck on a plot
nice.
point, she will be the one who
Mm.
goes, right, run it through. What are you stuck on? And I'm like, okay, right. So I've got this and this has happened already,
And she's
and I
so
need this to
proficient.
happen. And she doesn't, and I can't work out how to get from here to here. And she'll be like, well, what's stopping you? Like, do you need to kill anyone? Do you need to do this? And she normally just asks like a couple of good questions, and I'm like, ah, right,
We will
no,
talk
okay, I've
about
got it
killing
now.
your darlings in another
Yeah,
episodes, guys. But we will
yeah.
talk about it, but not today.
But sometimes it's such a minor point. Sometimes it'll just be like, well, why don't you move it indoors? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
totally solves the
brilliant.
problem.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like I was like, but the problem is it's raining, and I need them not to be in the rain. And she's like, well, like get an umbrella. And I'm like,
So in real
oh
life,
no,
people, that's called a plot editor and
yes,
a content editor, and that's very
not everyone lives
expensive.
with one of those.
You don't
Yeah,
have one at home. You
I
don't
don't
have one
pay
at
mine.
home. No,
um,
find yourself a friend
yeah,
who
someone who
is a
likes
beta
to
reader.
hear.
Yeah, somebody who kind of wants to see what you're doing, like before it hits AO3, and somebody who just is your friend and has a little patience for you and your creations. That's nice too.
Yeah,
So
sorry,
that
I
helps.
just got a bit of a shock there because I'm suddenly like, from a silent background, there's suddenly lots of clapping and cheering, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" But I just realised it's 8 o'clock here, and we're doing like applause for the NHS, so like everyone's
Oh,
out on their balconies. So I'm
yeah.
just like psychically clapping along with that because they're doing fantastic
Case
work.
clapping
And
for you.
yes, I was like, "Hang out the window and
Nice.
clap louder." So yes, the good
Oh,
people of Edinburgh are representing for
I
our.
think that's a good thing.
It's nice. Apart from anything else, it eases the loneliness a little bit. So we all know there's
Yeah,
other people out there now. So
that's
that's
nice.
good. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I was
No,
like,
no,
I
no
wasn't sure if it
worries,
was
no
getting picked
worries.
up.
You were on
Audio.
a long. So to get back to we'll leave the content editing part of it, and we'll go
Yeah,
back to the writing chronologically and or in pieces, or so there's not really like a this is how you must do it.
no, and I think
There's none of
I
that.
used to. I think the way I learned at school, which wasn't really for creative writing, but a little
Mm-hmm.
bit for creative writing, was,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't iron out all these details when you first come to them, then the story's going to be weak because you haven't sorted out the conflict or whatever it is at this point. But I've really found that as long as you know there has to be a problem or a progress or a
The
change,
conflict.
it doesn't matter if you don't know the
And then
details
the
yet.
resolution.
Because you can always go back. That's the thing. You can what you've
Yeah.
written at the end can always be changed when you fill in that gap. You say, "Oh, right, okay, I'm going to have her buy a gun in this scene." Okay, so that means when we get to chapter 25, and people are like, "Do you have anything to defend yourself with?" She can be like, "Yes, I have this gun." I mean, it just you change in both directions, and
I have a
it
cat
doesn't.
that loves opening doors. I'm sorry. I keep moving.
Just had her
Yeah.
had her land for a
So
love fest, but he's gone away again.
I'm a little different than Lola in my process.
Pizza.
However, yeah, but we come to the same conclusion. In the end, it's the story's told. That's the same conclusion. But I do have Lola and I are the same on when I have a story ID. I usually will write the first scene in my mind that I have visualized. That's my starting point. And I'll start writing from there, and I will write for as much as I can, as long as I can in one go. That gives me a little bit of a base to work with. So Lola and I are the same on that. I get very easily distracted by world building. So it has happened to me, especially on my epic fics. When I write fantasy, and it's nuts. I think you've seen that for that, like the amount of research that I have in separated places.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I always have at least 2 documents opened, because there's one for the world building and the headcanons and the characters and their name and their I have all of that structured so that I can put into that stuff that I don't want to disturb my story with. So I do a lot of that. But for simple stories, for fanfic, contrary to Lola, I don't publish until I've finished. And people are very angry with me for it. I used to publish per chapter, but I struggle doing something that Lola does very easily, I think, is that Lola's used to be, at least when she used to write a lot of fan fiction, is that she would come up with a chapter every weekend, like a clock.
For the most part,
I can't do that. I can't do that. And the anxiety that it gives me to tell myself that I'm going to have something written by every Friday night or every Sunday morning. It just flat out white page. I just couldn't do it. It will freak me out. So what I do is and also now I do that mostly is because I like to have a comfortable advance before I start publishing things. And at the and in the past couple of years or so, every time I start a fanfic, I will not publish it until it's finished. It gives me one advantage that I think a lot of people don't do in fan fiction, is that people write chapters, I write scenes. And I cut the story in pieces at the end, or when I'm halfway, or like if I've written 20,000 words, I know more or less, and I know that I still have probably about the same amount of words to write. I'll cut. I know I'll decide where to cut, but I write everything in scenes. A scene for me can be 2 paragraphs, it can be 3,000 words, it can be 500, but it's a moment. So I write in scenes always, and a chapter can be 3 scenes, it can be 1 scene, and usually I put the scene number nowadays. I've re-edited some of my fic to put the scene number in. So I will write in scenes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I don't do that, given that I now write for television as well. So I was like,
yeah, you don't do it,
that
but it's kind of funny because so I write in scene, and a scene is not finished until it works like a movie. So a scene works like a moment in a TV show or in a movie. It needs to work like it's an actual scene. It needs to follow the script, and when it's well oiled, it has an impact. It finishes strong. I always like to punch at the end. I always style for me is almost as important as plot. But don't get me wrong, I plot insanely. Like I plot everything. Yeah. So for me, when I start a story, it's very often I have a title before I have anything else. So I will title the story. Sometimes I don't, like my of Blood and Choice. It's been called Gayme forever. So in all my drafts, it was called Gayme until I started publishing it. And I started publishing it when I was at chapter 14. Oh. Knowing that I'm going to chapter 18 or 21, I forget. So sometimes I'll plot a story knowing how many chapters I'm going to have, because it helps me discipline myself on how long I'm going to make it, how long I'm going to be writing it, and how much I'm going to develop the plot, because that happens to me. I overplot a lot. So just the same as I'm very prolific with world building, so I can go on forever. I can write an epic novel for every story, and not every story needs that. And I'm a very efficient person in terms of writing. I don't like adjectives. I don't like adverbs. I don't like I like short sentences. I like very impactful words, specific impactful words. So when I write a story, usually I decide how many chapters it's going to be. Then I kind of fill up. Well, then I forget about the chapters completely, and I start writing the scenes. And then I take notes and I plot the scenes. So for me, if I know it's okay to move scenes, usually I do it chronologically. If my first scene that ever come into my mind that helps me start the story happens in the middle of the story, then I'll go back to before, I'll go back to after, I'll navigate, it's okay. It has happened to me more than once to write a scene, for example, thinking it's going to be scene number 3, and it ends up being scene number 12, right? So that has happened to me. I usually write in continuity of my scenes, but I plot all of them. When I start writing, and if you go into the links in the description, you'll find my Share With Me folders, and you'll find a few of my work in progress. If you look at them, they all have brackets with notes inside of it. And I can write between 100 to 500 words of notes for each scene, where I know what I want to come out of that scene. Now, people think that it makes me like a robot, but actually in that discipline, I find a lot of freedom. Because when I have an idea of what I want to see happen in that scene, then I allow myself to just write my heart out. And sometimes something completely unexpected will come up out of that, and I'll change the scene. I never stop myself from changing my notes. And if it changed the direction it was going, it'll change it. But if it's brilliant, I'll keep it. So sometimes very often actually, I get those gems out of giving myself a structure. And that's how sometimes it's just a line and I'm like, oh my God, that line is gold. Sometimes it's a movement, a description. I am not big on dialogue, although I have, scenes where my characters talk a lot, but I like body language more than word language. But, we write differently. We have different style. And style is also something for me that I always have in mind. but it comes that's something that comes much later on. You'll worry about your style much later. First, you need to find your voice. And that is what even though I structure very much, and the structure gives me confidence. If we go back to, I have zero confidence, the structure helps me remember what I was trying to say, remember to talk about, write about that great idea that I took notes on my hands the day before, and it helps me come back into, oh, right, that's what I was going to do. Okay, I sit down, that's what I was going to do. Right, it's right here, I can see it, I thought about it before, it'll come. And it does. So it helps me feel more confident and safe to plan and to plot everything. And I plot very extensively, but it's fun. I enjoy it. Some people hate it, but I enjoy it. And then, like I said, you just write it. And because I do a lot of, content writing for business, and for one of the first thing I learned about productivity in business is plan the work the plan. And so I do it in writing, but that never stops me from being spontaneous, from having fun, from giving something unexpected and new, from trying things I've never tried before. It just gives me this safe environment to do it. So if you're going to do what I do, you can use software to do that, or you can just use page. My structure is very much a mindset. So I lay it out with titles and colors and stuff like that. Well, no, I write everything in gray, but dark gray, light gray, middle gray, whatever.
Yeah.
But I have, so I do that in Pages or in Google Docs, but some people use a software. I'll be honest, I never spent the money on it. It's quite expensive. Some people use a software called Scrivener. And do you use Scrivener?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so you should talk about it, because I've never used it. I've used it once, the free version. I got I did NaNoWriMo and I got a 1 free month or something.
That's how I started, I think, and then I just picked up because I got using it. But the biggest thing for me is that you can keep all your research in documents. So if I'm working on multiple things in multiple places, you just add a file to your research folders within the project, and you can just put the full web page in there, the book in there, the video in there as well. So that's really handy for ballet stuff, because I kept a lot of performances.
Oh yeah, I bet. For research, that makes
you can make
it efficient.
Yeah, you can make YouTube playlists and stuff, but then you have to go to a second place to get your research that you've saved, and then I have I've been diagnosed sort of 5 of the 6 steps along the way with ADHD. I still have to have the final meeting and stuff.
Wow.
But I know that I'm scatterbrained.
That's new.
It's a fun thing. But I know that if I go on YouTube and I'm not 100% disciplined about it, I will then spend 3 hours on YouTube watching videos of people singing from musicals.
I lose time like that all the time. I go down so many rabbit holes.
Yeah, I need one that I can use offline so that I can go to places where I don't need to be on Wi-Fi to check the details for a story.
Oh, that's good.
So that I don't need to go out with the story document as such, because there are times when the crunch is really on. And you've just got to knuckle down, and you've just got to stay in that document and be like, I have everything I need here. But again, Kate is quite handy for this. She is a bit of an organizer. And she made a template for Scrivener, which I use.
Oh, cool.
And it's not just because the default thing is you have all your scenes and they all add up to make a manuscript, and then you have research and that's it. And there's a
How's the app?
Template. I don't use the app. I have it, and I've got it synced up through Dropbox and stuff, but more often than not, the sync doesn't work and it's a bit faffy. So
ouch.
I don't bother with the app, I have to say. But the
I know
laptop,
there's other apps, obviously, but all these apps pretty much evolve from what Scrivener does.
yeah,
I think it's the most
same
ancient writing app that there has been.
The good thing with Scrivener as well is it has templates, which not everything has. So if you're doing scripts or something for the first time, you know, it gives you formatted radio dramas, it gives you formatted, 60-minute drama or 30-minute comedy, and it shows you a rough layout of how that would be done. That's a huge thing. You can save a bunch of places as well, so you can keep like the geography of your worlds kind of accurate.
Okay.
And I really like being able to. It's got like a pinboard function because I've always been a pinboard or a whiteboard user.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I love pinboards.
You can type on these index cards and then drag them into the right order, and it's just got a lot of functionality, and it's got enough places to store things that I don't have to write it all on one page. Like I can have
that
the
sounds
information
amazing
over here, and I can have the writing in here, and then down here I can have the pictures or whatever I want to go with it. So it's a good way of organizing for people who are not naturally organized, which I am not. I'm naturally very disorganized, so I find it super useful. It's not for everyone, but
sorry, maybe for next time, what we could do is see how you could share maybe your Scrivener on screen so that people could see what it looks like.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I've got some.
That would be fun.
I've got one for my book that's coming out in September. It's also got a place where you can put all your, scenes that you deleted or characters that you ended up not using. I've got a section for like beta reader thoughts, motivational quotes, an outline diagram, and even silly things reminding you to write the synopsis, because every single time I submit my book, we get through editing, we get to the point where we need to like write the blurb for the back of the book, and I'm like, oh crap, I haven't written that yet.
Oops.
And it's always like the last thing.
It sounds like you can have like a whole project around your book, and you can organize everything you need in one place around your actual draft, and then you can even reorganize your draft into your scenes, and then you can even put your scenes into your chapters. It sounds like it helps you structure in all one place. We'll we'll see if we can figure out a way to find you a nice link for Scrivener for next week. We'll talk a little bit more about. I might even commit and buy Scrivener. I've been thinking of. It's in my cart it's been in my cart for like a long time. I kind of want to see how it is in the app, because I will use it on the iPad. So I kind of want to take the time.
I just like moving it between the two.
I really want to take the time to figure out some apps, but if it's not Scrivener, there are other apps. We'll make a list for you guys eventually, where you can, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll do my own research to figure out which app I like best, and I'll keep notes on all the apps, and then I'll tell you guys about it. But so Scrivener is a good app, but if you don't have the money for Scrivener, you can pretty much recreate organization inside of Google Docs. Just try to organize yourself a little bit and try to help your flow. You'll figure it out as much, with the time of writing. Just start. I think that's the first thing we can say. Just start. And once you have your ID, once you've put yourself in the right condition, right?
Yeah.
What were you going to say? Sorry.
There is it's so easy to get hung up on, but people are going to laugh, people are going to hate it, I'm going to be embarrassed.
It's not published yet, guys.
You never have to show anyone. You can write it and you can bin it. You can write it and you can put it in a box in your attic, and you can leave it there for 60 years. It's like there's no obligation to show it.
You can write 5, 10, 20 stories that you're not going to publish until the one that you think is up to the standard that you want to be. But I wouldn't advise that, and I don't think you would either, Lola. It's okay to grow with your readers, especially in fan fiction.
Of course, nobody started out perfect.
And that's why fan fiction is a great place to start, is because you can learn and grow as you go. And it kind of takes away the fear of being out there as you go. But we'll talk about that, you know, when it comes to the publishing moment. Right now we're on the starting moment. And the starting is really put yourself in a good place to be creative. Use an ID that you've had or that you've saved somewhere. Note your IDs always. If you don't have an ID, you know, kind of choose a fandom or a pairing. Ask people in the fandom, they'll give you prompt. So once you have your ID or your prompt or both, you found the software. Google Docs is really the base. It's the beginner place to go. And even very proficient people use Google Docs for certain things. Like sharing Scrivener is probably not as fun as sharing in Google Doc. Right? Yeah. So once you're in Google Doc, if you don't have a title, it's fine. Call it by your pairing, or like I do, you know, oh, it's a story where Emma Swan is the dark one. Dark Emma. There you go. Start with the ID that you had, or the scene that you saw, or the thing that sparked you. It doesn't matter if it's in chapter 1, if it's going to be in chapter 10, it does not matter. Just start with that and write as much as you can with that. Yeah. As far as it'll take you. Once you've done that, enjoy, reread it, feel good. That's an accomplishment. Like sometimes it's going to be 500 words, but sometimes it's going to be 5,000 words. And you're like, wow, I didn't know I had it in me, right? Just don't let anything stop you. I think that's, so once you have your first words, and if it's 300 words, it's okay. Yeah. You're in there, you've written something. Cool.
300 words that didn't exist before, you know?
Exactly. So it's always better. Exactly. And, you know, if you look at it, then it might give you more IDs. Write those down. Because that's plotting. If you think, oh, maybe, like, okay, they came into this bar and they've never met before and they had a Tinder date, whatever. They found each other, so, you know, cool. Oh, maybe now they can have a drink. And, oh, I think I want to start the story with how nervous the person was. And I didn't tell anything about all this time before the date. You know, they got prepared, they took the subway, whatever, they went to the bar, and then they had to look for the person. So you can plot that. That's plot. That's good plot. So
things that happen that get you further into the story, you know? It's just...
Exactly. So you can talk about that before, after. Finally, you can decide that the scene they just start talking can be your prelude, and then boom, or what's the word in English for the, you know, the, like, you see, prologue? It's a scene, a prologue. It can be a scene that's kind of detached from what comes next, and you're like, oh, and it's just like a piece of a moment that you put in the beginning of the story. You'll do that later. It's fine, right? And then you're like, oh, but after that, I think the date's gonna go great, and they're gonna get home. They're gonna go to her place there, or so you can. That's plot. Just, you know, just start writing, okay, I want a scene where they do that, and I want a scene where they do that, and I want a scene where they do that. And then you make the time out of your day or out of your week or out of your months if you don't have the time. And you make your time and you try to write. And again, you repeat the process. You put yourself in the right condition. If it's music, you get coffee, a little cake or some candy. Some people, I love to munch, right? So some people, you know, love to have like gummy bears or you know, I like dry mango, right? I'm not lying. I like dry mango. It's right here. So you get yourself set. If it's music or some people put a movie. That happened to me. You put a movie on or some sport, right? And you write again.
Yeah, I tend to go for the opposite and switch everything off to take away distractions. But it
okay,
depends.
yeah, you switch off. You stay home or you go to the coffee shop.
You find out what's right for you, and you just do it.
Yes,
basically.
You find your little bubble. You find your writing bubble. Once you're in the bubble, you write, and then you organize it. It's okay to make time for writing and then to make time for organizing, right? Do you do that?
Yeah, I try not to when it's time for writing, I try to make sure I've done everything else, the research, the organizing,
right.
If I have something else to do while I'm writing, I will always do the other thing. So I try to writing time is just for writing, and keep everything else. Like if I'm going to organize my desk or rearrange some stuff, go and get a blanket or whatever because it's cold. I do all of that first and then start writing, because if I interrupt myself once I'm in the flow, it just gets really disruptive.
Also, get ready for cold tea and cold coffee.
Yes. Use a travel mug. That's what I do.
Yeah, use a travel mug.
Wasted so many cups of tea otherwise.
Exactly. If you go with that, you'll drink cold. So I have a big travel mug like this too. It's it keeps things warm. It's on the pretty cups and all that's in movies. Yeah. Or you drink it cold. Right. You will forget about the cup. Once you're in it, you'll forget. So it's if you've done that and you're in the process of writing, you're writing. And you've started.
And once you've started, you just, no one can stop you, basically, apart from yourself. So just go for it. Just keep going until you run out. And it doesn't matter if you're not finished in that first go, because the same way as you got it to start that time, it will start up again. So if it takes 3 days to write one scene or a whole week to write one chapter or whatever it is, there's no time limit on it.
Just fine.
As much as you feel comfortable with doing
right
at the one time, basically.
We'll talk about publishing other times, but there's no stress on how to publish. Like you can be a once a week person, or you can be like me and you never figure out how to be a once a week person. And so I write everything and I figure out how I want to publish it later. Yeah, that's fine too. So as long as you're writing, you're doing the right thing. But I think we gave you a lot of a lot of good starting points. I'm going to address one last thing, and then I think we'll wrap up. If one of your anxiety, and it was one of mine when I started, because English isn't my first language. I'm going to say that. I never, it's funny because I never say it on Twitter. I never say it on all the on the O3. I never say it on Tumblr or anywhere. I never say it to people, but here we are. You can hear my accent, so I'm going to say it. So when I started, English isn't my first language. And when I started, I still have a degree in it and all of that. But when I started writing, I got anxious that my English wouldn't be good, that I wouldn't be grammatically good, or that my style would sound French and not I would do things the French way, but I would just translate it to English, which is not good. Instead of, finding my own voice and my own style in English itself. And it made me also, British English, American English. I went with American English. You do American English too in your fanfic, don't you? Even in your books.
Unless they're set in the UK, in which case I can't do it. It just clashes in my brain.
Yeah, I feel you.
If it's American characters or non-UK characters, then always American.
There's a few things, and when I wanted, when the idea came to me to start editing, and I'm not a very famous editor, obviously, yet. I got super nervous. I was like, how are people going to trust my capacity in English? And so there's one book that I found was really helpful. And I want to say, if you're not very good at grammar, or if you are not sure about punctuation and all of that, and it makes you nervous, go look at the Chicago Manual of Style.
The authority.
It's an amazing resource. It's the authority, and definitely Merriam-Webster for dictionary. Right?
Yeah.
What do you use?
I use OED normally, but
what's OED?
Oxford English for UK
Oxford
English,
right?
Americans
would use Merriam-Webster, right?
I just Google it and see what the consensus is between different books.
If it's Oxford or if it's Merriam, you pretty much have it.
Yeah.
And yes, the Chicago Manual of Style. It's really helpful. You don't have to force yourself to like read all of it at once. Yeah. You can find previous versions discounted or even in libraries, and that's very helpful. And just look up one aspect of style every time, like you're curious, like maybe syntax, maybe punctuation, maybe all of those things, and you'll learn a lot, and it will help you be more confident. Again, I always come back to confidence, because for me it's all about confidence. It will help you be more confident about your English, your words, right?
Yeah.
And it's really a Bible. It's my Bible, at least. So
it's invaluable.
So yes.
It really is.
Yeah, it's really good. So I think with all those words of wisdom, I'm kind of tired. Are you tired? I think we've done a lot. Yeah.
I'm a little sluggish today. It's been a big indoor kind of day, so it's all good.
Well, I mean, I think we've given them a lot. We've given them a lot, right? I think we've given you guys a lot. If you missed out, just rewatch a little bit, and you can absolutely find us on Twitter. I think that's where you can find us the most. Yeah, or you can comment on this video if you have a question, because I didn't see anything in chat. So I'm gonna guess that we were pretty good at explaining. If you have any questions, leave a comment, tweet us. I'll do my best to help you. And I know Lola will help you too.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are going. I think we're going to wrap this up. We'll be here next week, right? If all goes well. We'll talk about the next step into writing. So we're focusing on fan fiction writing and creative writing a little bit. Not because creative writing is harder. It's different. That different, but it's different. And we thought we both come from fan fiction, and we think a lot of queer people start with fan fiction because contrary to I want to say cis hetero people, where they live in a world that is addressed to them and we don't. So fan fiction is a very natural way to make content that fits you and us. And that's why we want to focus on fan fiction, because this is queer creators. This isn't cis-het creators or just fic creators. It's queer creators. So yes, on those good words, I think we really pumped you up to get started. Go write your own fics. If you want to come back next week and tell us what you started, I think, or if you want to, if any of you is publishing anything, or wants to even let us know, just let us know. It would be super nice to know that you guys are writing. And wash your hands, take your meds, stay inside, right? Get some rest, distress, have fun, check up on your friends on FaceTime.
Yes.
And don't touch your face.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, all we can do to flatten the curve, make sure that the hospitals are not overwhelmed with critical people. And that's how we're going to get through this. So, stay home, enjoy the content, go write, and see you next week.
Excellent. See you then.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye,
Bye.
people.